This video has been delayed due to technical issues, but now we are back with the solution of question 6 of May 2024 session of IGCSE Pure Maths. So let's jump right in. Now the line L passes through the point A with coordinates -2 and 2 and the point B with coordinates 3 and 12. And point C has coordinates P and Q. And point C lies on line L, such that AC is to CB is 3:2. Now if we go back to the formula, the ratio formula, if we want, let's recall that formula. Let's say we have a coordinate A and a coordinate B, and there's a coordinate which is, let's say that the coordinate is C, which has x coordinates xc and yc, and A has coordinates x1 and y1, and B has coordinates x2 and y2. And they have given us the ratio as m and n, because AC is to CB is equals to m is to n. Now if I want to find out the coordinates of point C, let's first find out the coordinates of the x coordinate of point C. If we remember the formula correctly, it goes something like this: nx1 plus mx2 divided by n plus m. So here we have the coordinates of A as -2 and 2, so that's -2 and 2, and we have the B coordinate as 3 and 12, that's 3 and 12, and the x coordinate of C is P and the y coordinate is Q. Yep. And the ratio is given as 3:2, so that's 3 and 2. So this will be 2 times -2 and 3 times 3 divided by 5. So this gives a value as 1. So the value of P is 1. Now let's find out the value of Q using the same formula, but instead of the x coordinates, now we will substitute the y coordinates. So that's 2 and 2 plus 3 times 12 divided by 5. So this is equals to 8. So the value of P is 1 and the value of Q is 8. Now moving on to the next part, the line K is perpendicular to L and passes through the point C. But we do not know the gradient of L. First, let's find out the gradient of point L. So the gradient of L, we can say that point L passes through A and B, which means that we can use the formula y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So it's 12 minus 2 divided by 3 plus 2. So that gives us a value of 2, which means that since line K is perpendicular, if we remember the formula correctly, we know that the product of the gradient of two perpendicular lines is always equals to -1. So which means that if I multiply the gradient of line L by the gradient of line K, we should get -1, which means that the gradient of line K is -1 over 2. So that's the gradient of line K. And we know that the equation of line K will look something like this: y minus y1 is equals to the gradient of line K, x minus x1. Using this formula, we can find out the equation of line K. Now, line K passes through point C, so we can substitute the coordinates of point C into the equation. The x coordinate is 1 and the y coordinate is 8, and the gradient is -1 over 2. So the equation of line K is minus half x and plus 17 over 2. So that is the equation of line K, but we need to write it in this format, which means that we need to multiply this whole equation by 2. So it's 2y plus x minus 17 equals 0. So that is the answer for this one. Now moving on to the next question. We know that the line K crosses the x-axis at the point D. So let's first find out the coordinates of point D. So since line K passes through point D and point D is at x-axis the value of y is 0. So if we substitute the value of y as 0 into this equation, so 0 equals minus x over 2 plus 17 over 2. So the value of x is 17. So the coordinates of D is 17 and 0. Now we need to find the exact length of CD. So we can just use the formula for the distance between 2 points, which is 17 minus 1 whole square plus 0 minus the y coordinate of C, which is 8 whole square, and we need to root over this whole thing. So the length CD will be 8 root over 5 units. That is the exact form. Alright. Now moving on to the next question. The point X with coordinates M and N lies on L, such that the area of triangle DXC is 80 units. Given that M is greater than 0, find the value of M and the value of N. So this question is worth 7 marks. In order to understand this question, we need to sketch a diagram. Well, not a accurately sketched diagram, it must be close to accurate, so that you get a better understanding of how the graph would look. Now, in order to sketch the graph, we know the coordinates of D and C. We just don't know the coordinates of X, but we know that the X point lies on line L. So let's first find out the coordinates of line L, or we can just sketch 2 of these points and connect these 2 points in order to get the graph of line L. So this is part of the graph, which means that this line here is line L. This is line L. Now we just need to draw line K, and we know that line K is perpendicular to line L. And also line K passes through the point D, which means that line K would look something like this. So this is line K. Now point X have coordinates M and N, where M is greater than 0, which means M is a positive, the X coordinate is positive, which means that the point X would lie somewhere in this region. Now let's assume that point X lies on this region, which has coordinates M and N. Alright, now as you can see that this is a perfect right angle triangle, right? Wait, let me just draw the right angle triangle. This is a right angle triangle. Now, in order to find out the right angle triangle's length, we can create 2 equations. First of all, we know that the line L has gradient of 2. So the line L has a gradient of 2, which means that the gradient can also be written like this: m minus 1 divided by n minus 8 equals 2. So if I make m minus 1 the subject, I get 2 n minus 8. So this is our first equation. Now let's find out the second equation. We know the length of DC. Now we just need this length. In order to find out this length, we know that the area is 80 units squared. And the area can also be written as half times base. The base of the triangle is CX. And the height of the triangle is DC. We have found the length DC, or CD as you may call it, as 8 root over 5. So from this equation, we can find out the length of CX. So the length of CX is 4 root over 5. Another thing we can do is that the length of Cx can also be written as m minus 1 whole squared plus n minus 8 whole squared. And we just need to root over this whole thing is equals to 4 root over 5. Now if we remove this root, we can move this root to the right hand side of the equation, so this becomes 4 root over 5 whole squared. So now we know that m minus 1 whole squared plus n minus 8 whole squared is equals to 80. So this is our second equation. Now we just need to solve these two equations. There is a much simpler way to solve these equations than just replacing m or replacing n. We know that the value of m minus 1 is equals to 2n minus 8. We need the value of m minus 1 whole square. So if we square this whole thing, we get 4 times n minus 8 whole square. This is the value of m minus 1 whole square. So which means that I can replace m minus 1 whole square as 4 times n minus 8 whole square. Now as you can see that there are 5 values for n minus 8 whole square, which means I can write this as 5 times n minus 8 whole squared equals 80. Now n minus 8 whole square is equals to 80 divided by 5, which is 16. So there will be two values for n minus 8, which is plus minus 4. So there will be two values for n. One of the values will be n equals 12 and the other value will be minus 4 plus 8, which is 4. Now we need to choose which value is correct. Okay, so there was a slight mistake, sorry for that. Instead of m minus 1 over n minus 8, this should be n minus 8 divided by m minus 1, because y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So n minus 8 can be written as 2 times m minus 1. So n minus 8 whole square can also be written as 4 times m minus 1 whole square. So sorry for that. So this will be m minus 1 whole square, and we can replace n minus 8 whole square as 4 times m minus 1 whole square. So from this we will get 5 times m minus 1 whole square equals 80. So m minus 1 whole square is equals to 16. So m minus 1 will have two different values, plus and minus 4. Now we need to choose which one is the correct one. So m will have two values, which is minus 4 and plus 1, that is minus 3, and the other one is 5. Now we have an information, it's that m is greater than 0, which means m is a positive value. So we can say that m is equals to 5 and m cannot be minus 3. So when the value of m is 5, we just need to find out the value of n. We can just use this equation. So when m is 5, the value of n will be 8 plus 2 times 5 minus 1, that is 16. So that is it for this question. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video, and don't forget to leave a comment, share and subscribe.